Welcome to Within the Frame, where we bring the most pressing issues across the globe into focus. I'm Kim Mok-yeon. The United States has approved the export of Nvidia's cutting-edge AI chip, the H200, to China, a surprising move that signals a potential shift in Washington's high-tech strategy under President Trump. Until now, export bans on advanced chips were seen as a core tool to curb China's AI development. But this new approval raises fresh questions. So is the U.S. actually opening the door for tech cooperation or tightening its grip by keeping China dependent on American hardware? Korean chip makers Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix are paying close attention as they supply key components for Nvidia's H200. Now, with global chip policies evolving fast, the ripple effects on Korea's semiconductor industry could be significant. For a closer look into the current situation, we are joined by Song Soo-young, a professor of business and economics at Chungang University. Big welcome, Professor.
Thank you for inviting me.
And also joining us is Sung-soo Eric Kim, founder and CEO of DataCrunch Global and adjunct professor of Yonsei Graduate School of Business. Good to see you, Professor.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start with Professor Song. The United States has just allowed the export of Nvidia's AI chip, the H200, like I've mentioned, to China. Why do you think President Trump actually gave the green light on this move?
Apparently, his allegation that he opened the market for H200, Hopper 200, to be exported to China by allowed. The primary reason he argues that because already China's some institutions and the research institutions and some universities have already purchased the H200, so many. And through the gray market. Therefore, he rather would like to earn some kind of fees which would help alleviate the burden of government deficit and trade deficit. Clearly, during the November, the U.S. government has shown that the government budget deficit has been reduced by as much as 47% from the same month, 2024, November. In the meantime, also, the U.S. has experienced the export gap has been reduced at the minimum for the past 5 years. So considering all these situations, apparently, the Trump has some political reason for some midterm voting in the National Congress and the Senate for the next year. So considering that situation, he would like to show that the earning 25% of fees out of the selling of H200 would be very beneficial and to earn much larger revenues for the government to alleviate the burden of a budget deficit as well as reduce the trade deficit. That it would be used as a political campaign for his success as economic policy for the U.S. economy. That is the primary reason why he has reversed totally the previous policy of about some high-tech AI chips against China.
So there really could be both political and economic motives from Washington. Now, building on that, Professor Kim, what about, in your opinion, do you think this decision could be seen as a softening of U.S. policy towards China or a calculated strategy?
So I think we have to understand that U.S. and China has something to give and take. U.S. holds the semiconductor technology, which is vital for China to develop their AI industry and also their electronics industry. So U.S. is getting into negotiation with China in terms of tariff, and the key negotiation is semiconductor. And meanwhile, China also has something to offer to the United States. They are the monopoly when it comes to rare earth material, which is critical for semiconductor manufacturing. And also, they produce soybeans, which U.S. is heavily dependent on China. So facing the midterm election next year, Trump has to also consider what is the best strategy for US and for his political agenda when it comes to dealing with China. H200 is not the best semiconductor GPU in this world. Nvidia has Blackwell, which is next generation GPU, which is 1.5 times faster than H200. So we can consider H200 as an outdated product. And we will discuss probably more today of what is US strategy on providing H200 to China in that sense.
Right. So there seems to be a political motive ahead of the midterm election. But as we've been talking about a while ago, Professor Song, Washington is demanding that 25% of all H200 sales to China be paid for upfront. Then what is the economic intention behind this?
As I mentioned earlier, that clearly the economic reason is to show off his accomplishment because of the revenue generated from the fees. But I believe that H200 is actually H100 is still under the provision by the U.S. government. It is not allowed to export to China. But the majority of the AI chips used in China right now is H20, which is 1/6 of the performance speed of the chip. And also the Huawei tried to make some Asensio 910C, which is would hopefully it compete with other some A100 chips or H100 Hopper 100 chips. But in order to earn as much as revenue possible is some monopoly level goods to be sold to China would be beneficial to the U.S. Revenues for the government. And on the other hand, China's recently have used some AI infrastructure extend and make so many investment in Xinjiang area, and they have they would like to make use of the H200 for the benefit of their economy. Therefore, Trump's policy is criticized by the Senate and the Congress simultaneously, and in the U.S., and they require some kind of testimony about what is the purpose behind this kind of allowing the H200 to be sold to the China. So I think Trump's goal is very simple: to make the most of this economic situation to the benefit of his political success. That is what he is allowing. He allows the H200 exports to the China.
Mm-hmm. So in a nutshell, we've been talking about the advancement of chips, and Professor Kim, you've mentioned that there are more advanced chips, and also that Chinese firms like Huawei are also improving their AI chips. So now the question is China will China be actually allowing the import of these chips? How competitive do you actually think the H200 chips would really be in China's domestic market, Professor Kim?
So I think that H200 is still a very strong chip for the Chinese science and technology industry. The current technology of Huawei is not meeting the standards of Nvidia right now. Maybe in the long run it will do, but for the time being, it does not meet the standards of H200 right now. But it's a question of whether the Chinese government will actually allow China to import these Nvidia chips, because I think this is more about a political gesture, because Trump has to get into negotiation with China on rare earth materials and also a potential threat of banning soybean exports to the United States. So by allowing US to export these Nvidia chips, Trump is giving a political gesture, whether China will accept it or not. He made a deal. So it's now on the table on the Chinese side, whether they're going to accept it or not. And we also have to also think about one strategy that US might be considering. If Chinese companies, tech companies, continuously use NVIDIA chips, then they still become dependent on the US technological standards. If the electronics market deviate from NVIDIA chips and start to use Huawei chips, then that's the moment that when it's becoming a true decoupling between US and China technological standards. So while US will like to slow down the AI development and semiconductor development of China, at the same time, they want to have China still dependent on the technological standards that US has set for the global market. So I think there's a lot of political calculation in this gesture towards China.
So we're definitely seeing some shift around here. So Professor Song, so are we really seeing a change in Washington's strategy from a total restriction to selective engagement now?
Actually, Professor Kim has mentioned earlier that the hidden purpose of the U.S. government may be very sophisticated to suffocate the development of the most advanced AI chip in China domestically, because to stifle the effort to develop and increase the dependence of Nvidia, such as Hopper chip and the Blackwell chip, or eventually the Rubin chip will be developed in 2026. But Chinese government also take into account these kind of possibilities. Therefore, they have considered how to respond, how to balance the dependence in advanced chip and also some domestically less advanced but still very useful chips for the some ordinary usage of the chips for the small language models or other types of the tools, devices to be used to make use of the chips. So that will, one possibility is the Chinese government would like to allow, along with when the company such as advanced company would like to, such as a Tencent or Alibaba and ByteDance would like to purchase the H200 directly from the Nvidia, not from the gray market, then it means that they allow only when it is accompanied by the purchase of some domestic developed chip manufactured by the domestic Chinese companies. So that is a possible policy and response against the U.S. Maybe purported effort to make the Chinese companies too much dependent on the advanced chips. So this is like a kind of some mutual interaction, and how it will be played out and to go to some equilibrium situation, we have to wait and see a little bit, but it's a quite interesting theater to watch over.
Definitely. Then now the question for us would be on South Korean companies' perspectives. There's talk that Korean chip makers, they might benefit from H200 exports. Professor Kim, how big of a boost could this be for local companies?
Okay, first of all, Trump and Xi Jinping is playing a poker game right now. So we really do not know whether H200s will be exported to China or not. It also depends on how many chips US will allow and whether China will accept that or not. But we also have to understand the market situation right now. At least for the DRAM industry, the global stock is about 3 weeks to 2 weeks right now. It was 4 weeks just a couple of weeks ago, but it dropped to 2 weeks. That means that as soon as SK Hynix manufactures HBM3 or Samsung manufactures their memory chips, it's sold out. So companies are lining up to buy the memory chips from SK Hynix and Samsung Electronics right now. So in that sense, it may help the sales in long term, but we're already in full capacity right now. So even if China imports the H200 chips, it will not have a significant effect in the short run, but maybe in the long run, depending on how much Chinese companies will import. It will help both SK Hynix and maybe potentially Samsung as well when they succeed to provide HBM chips to Nvidia.
So if the deal is actually reached, there would be definitely some clear upsides for Korean firms. But on the flip side, of course, there would be some risks that we would have to watch out for. Professor Kim, could you name us some of them?
The risk is we have to really calculate the long-term demand in order to get into production decision right now. There are a lot of speculations about the AI bubble right now, and that's the reason why some are being concerned of the manufacturing, schedule of SK Hynix and Samsung Electronics. But I have a little bit of a different view. I think it's on a moment that Korean companies should get into heavy capital expenditure decisions because HBM technology is not similar to memory technology, where we get into a cost competition based on a same technological standard. HBM is a new technology that requires a technological lead. So that's where we need to focus on capital expenditure. And also on the demand side, we have to understand that it's not just about the AI companies using these chips. There's a lot of data centers that are being under discussion to be constructed. And the nature of the global supply and demand of these data centers is in one nutshell that it's a duplicate investment. Every country wants to build their own data center, and that's where the investment is coming in a duplicated scale. So I think at least in some expectation in the future, we would see a strong growth in the HBM sector. So Korean companies probably should have courage to invest in this time of the economy and technological age. Just like TSMC, if you look at their reinvestment in capital expenditure, they are reinvesting about 70% of their earnings to the next generation technology. So Korean companies would have to follow that capital expenditure strategy as well, in my opinion.
Definitely. Now, so as for South Korea, the government actually recently announced a huge investment plan of over 700 trillion won to build 10 new chip fabs by 2047. Professor Song, do you think this level of spending is actually enough to make Korea one of the world's top 2 chip powerhouses?
Oh, top 2. I hope it will be a top 3. But my concern also, Professor Kim has mentioned a little bit about the possibility of the bubble in AI industry. My concern lies in that because every country, as long as they have enough capital to make an investment in this advanced AI industry, they would like to make some sovereign AI, including recently Taiwan and even the Middle Eastern countries such as Saudi Arabia. And the problem is all these countries are involved in making some AI data center, and then after that, what happens? Exactly, this is the situation very similar to the world economy because of China has produced, manufactured, supplied all the cheap product consumption goods all over the country, and then it makes the world oversupply burden. So this could be realized true of AI industry because only the most advanced AI chips are useful for some security and the top performance. But for the general people's and the general consumer's life, it does not help much at all. Actually, the person who rely on ChatGPT and then it does not lead to some general, in general, the overall productivity enhancement of just the common people and ordinary people. So this is the kind of dilemma. As long as the music is on, they would like to dance, keep dancing. But when the music stops, what happened is really my concern. So I hope this does not, so far it is okay, but we cannot continue over investment such as 700 trillion won. But this is only for AI industry, but it is AI education, AI related investment is maybe too much. But until now, by far, it looks okay. But we have to, our government hope to be prepared for some kind of problem that I make forecasters and to help the ordinary people's life in the future.
So a better allocation plan would be necessary in the long run. But as for now, we seem to be going in the right path, and we'll really have to continue to keep close tabs on that area. But as for now, we'll have to conclude our discussion right here. Many thanks to Professor Song.
Thank you.
And of course, Professor Kim, for your insights tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And that'll be all from us on Within the Frame. Be sure to tune in again next time as we continue to explore the stories that matter. Until then, stay informed and engaged.